Most of the works that have been turned from video games to series or movies failed. If you don't know anything about the world of The Last of Us, a crazy episode, a fun episode, and details that no one paid attention to, we will review them in this video, so continue the video to the end. Hi! Finally, one of the most anticipated works of 2023 arrived. The beautiful thing is that it arrived at the beginning of the year. This work of works is popular even before it is released because it is based on a game that is extremely popular. The Last of Us, a PlayStation game released 10 years ago that is still very popular because it is one of the most beautiful story games. I will start now to discuss the first episode of the series, so if you didn't see the episode or didn't play the game in the first place, stop here. The series begins in the 60s. The series begins inside the studio during the filming of the program of this program scientists. They discuss possible risks towards humans. We see that one of the doctors denies the danger of viruses and bacteria, saying, whatever it is, they will find a cure. No matter how human immunity is, it can defeat viruses. But there is a greater danger, which is fungi. Hence, the aesthetic of the series began because for someone like us playing the game, see the monsters that will show evolution of monsters following is in the game. From the beginning, he planted you the idea of how these monsters can become basically an explanation for you using the ant. First of all, he explains how humans today use mushrooms as drugs. Here is the first point of how these fungi affect the brain after they were dropped on ants, and how the ant's body can be exploited in them. How does he control his ant as a whole? An ant that moves is still alive, but it is not alive. It is not aware of anything that becomes, because the only controller in the brain is the fungus. He explains the outbreak of this mushroom inside ants, and what affects him, how to reach high areas and others while he is talking, and I imagine all the forms of monsters that came out with us in the game. He explained that the fungus must be present at a certain temperature. The human temperature is high. If it enters inside us, we will die directly, and this immunity we have. But what if the climate changes? So these fungi have lived in normal climates with time gradually. The climate began to get hotter and the mushroom began to adapt to high heat. There will come a day when the ambient temperature in one place can be equal to the heat inside the human body, which means if the fungus now enters the human body, this mushroom can take over the body. The last point predicts how if we reach this stage, the end of humanity is impossible to be in a cure. And this is when the significance of the character, Ellie, that she is the only one with immunity to this disease, and how it may be used to create a vaccine against it, comes into play for the average viewer who did not play the game is placed. Brushes and the cradle of the sickness are introduced in the first minutes of the series, as is the method by which everything spreads, allowing everyone to enter the plot more quickly. The second alteration, which is supposed to be little and of no significance to the typical viewer, I played the game, made a significant difference. Enthused about me and the fact that he entered the game from a different angle. He started with us with the character Sarah, but this time they didn't start while she was at night. We started with her during the day. We saw her relationship with her father. We saw the tenderness between them. We saw them as a family going through the day. We saw her make a gift for her father and give the gift to her father, because this thing was with her for a long time. It was enough. I yell and scream on the television, even though I know she will die and how she will die because they took it literally. One further aspect of the series' narrative that I found appealing was the fact that it took place after 20 years of relocation. In the opening scene, we see a young boy and girl walking. Suddenly, they come upon the federal agents, and they give the girl a needle. Then we discover that the young girl has been tossed inside the truck and is dead, and our character and the hero arrive and throw her into the fire. Two significant elements in a straightforward scenario, and the atmosphere drew you in right away. First, if the level of power at Fedra is such that it kills children if you see them infected, this puts Ellie at a higher risk because it is obvious that if they know, they will kill her regardless of the circumstances, even if she is small. Second, a wonderful introduction to the character of Jules, that now this person is living almost without feelings to the extent that he is throwing the bodies of children and burning them. He returned in a terrible act, Also, how did he throw you in the middle of the events without talking about it? They take it and explain to it in 20 minutes, a hanging painting about if he got infected, and if you see someone who is contagious, what are the symptoms that appear on him? What are the symptoms that you can see? And the most important thing is to set timings. He also explained why on a daily basis they would come to me with her tied up and ask her for numbers. It's a multiplicity of 1 to 10, and all these things to know her mental health. Everything related to the pictorial environment. It was awesome. Some moments were mirror for a time. I was basically playing the game. It is clear that those in charge of the series have great loyalty to the game and all the details in it. The way humans turn into monsters, even the clothes chosen for each character. Details even in simple things inside rooms and houses. Of course, it changed the state of debris and mass destruction that makes us witness civilization after the spread of the virus. All these things were filmed in a way that befits the first episode and presented this world to someone watching for the first time, let alone Lena follows playing the game. We see this world away from graphics. In a real world, this now brings us to acting. By originally announcing the intention to turn the work into a series in many speculations and possibilities, who can play the role of Jules or Ellie, and the selected films? I can say that no one imagined him in these roles in the first place, if we catch the character of Jules. Or Pedro Pascal. And after a long episode in which there were many difficult events in which there were many aspects of character, I can say, bravo, Pascal has become one of the most important names on the scene. I was really impressed by the acting of Pedro Pascal. This attracted me now to the character Ellie, the character who had more words because her features did not resemble those of the character in the game, and there were other actors whose features were closer. I don't care about the resemblance to this game is a necessary feelings that I get, but in the first episode, she presented something important, and I hope she threw the hook, and the next episodes will pull me in the first episode. You were able to convince me that this character is the character of Ellie. If I am a human being, I do not know the game, and I do not know any need in the future. She is a strong character, the character of a rebellious girl. This thing has reached me so far. Nice episode. I never had any intention of filming or talking about The Last of Us until after the end of the season. I don't know if I'll talk episode by episode. If I find something to talk about like today, I'll shoot again. But if we don't imagine an episode, we'll talk at the end of the first season. Willie, until now, I have very high hopes. My rating for the first episode of The Last of Us is 10 out of 10, a great start. I hope you share your comments with me, your evaluation of the first episode, and whether you played the game or not. He was with you, MD. Peace.